also,
no, you're good.
It's saying we don't treat other people like this.
Okay.
Right. We don't take advantage of other people. We don't hurt them. We don't use them. And that's a better reading because that fits in with the ability to read the rest of Leviticus. Like there's all sorts of language about how we treat our neighbors, how we treat foreigners among us, all of that sort of stuff. And so when you have that kind of background, that those injunctions fit a little bit more naturally into the overall context of the passages.
Yeah.
But it gets complicated. So, there's a book. You might find it at a library, at the university library. It's called the Queer Bible Commentary.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the Queer Bible Commentary. Yeah. I'm familiar with it. So, okay. So
I also say I'm definitely not an expert.
That's okay.
I'm like straight white guy.
That's okay.
Par excellence.
It's okay.
Your
race has nothing to do with your knowledge. You're fine. That's not. I don't like the. You're fine. You're good. This is just a conversation. So, okay. So I hear that. So I hear people make the cultural argument a lot with Leviticus and then Deuteronomy and the New Testament. My only thing is that the Romans 1, 1 Corinthians 6 and 9, 1 Timothy. So do we use but would you use the same logic with the other sins that are listed beside? So for example, so if you say that this sexual, so the Hebrew says, and I've studied Hebrew, I've studied Greek, I'm really into this because I want to make sure that I'm, even in my dissertation, I'm, giving this correctly and really putting good thought into it. So, but when we look at the Hebrew in particular, there are many things that you could say about the culture, but we're talking about Mesopotamia, and so where a lot of people say it was pedophilia, a lot of people will say in different things. A lot of those things may or may not have been happening in Mesopotamia during that time, but there's nothing in the Hebrew, say Leviticus, that indicates that it's simply because of culture. And so what would you, so like rape, incest, would we use the same logic for those sins? That it was just the culture?
What I'm thinking of is, I'm sure you've heard of C.S. Lewis.
Absolutely.
So the book Mere Christianity, which is like a basic
read it.
So the reason I'm thinking about this is because I'm doing a study with my teenagers on this book right now.
Oh, cool. Okay. Are you doing like apologetics, something with them, or just C.S. Lewis?
Just kind of.
Okay.
My main concern with it is less apologetics and it's more of like, what do Christians actually believe?
Okay.
Because I feel like we grew up thinking we know what Christians actually believe. And then we don't actually study Scripture closely, and we kind of get swept up with like popular conceptions of what this is, apart from what it actually is.
Okay.
So he starts that book with saying most humans can point to, this is across time, across culture, can point to a conception of right or wrong. That is, apart from some specific cultural variations, pretty steady and constant. So he'll point to the example of, you're in battle and you choose to flee. Pretty much across cultures, that is looked at negatively, right? Cowardice is looked at negatively. So he'll say from that we can we can begin to grasp at there is a certain moral or natural law, and I'm sure you're familiar with all those kind of arguments that exists sort of prima facie, like apart from any sort of revealed body of knowledge, apart from religion. So he makes kind of that move and then moves from there, like saying that if we can all kind of like sense what right or wrong is, there might be something out there beyond us that's pointing to it. He eventually goes, the Christian tradition gives us the most faithful, of course, whatever, that's another part of the book. But for your question about how you would treat other sins I think there is sort of a common moral law that apart from culture, or even in spite of culture, most people can agree on. So things like rape, incest, all of that stuff, generally regarded, I think, by universal moral law as bad, evil, whatever word you want to put towards it. But is a relationship between two consenting adults, right? Is that sin, regardless of the gender of those two adults? I think that is the question, and I think that is what people. I think this is why some Christians have come to embrace the Pride movement and think differently about it. Because I know for me, I grew up in a fundamentalist kind of background and found my way to a different tradition by asking some of these questions. And it was my friends, my dear friends who were gay, who were like, I feel this way, I'm attracted this way, and I really love God. I feel like these two things are compatible. And so for me, it was, again, listening to their experience that really like put me back to rethinking how I read Scripture in terms of, you know, how does it all fit together? And this myth that the Bible has no contradictions. The Bible, I think, is full of things that you have to read together in order to make sense to read them canonically. And so I read things like Jesus, you know, commandment to love neighbors and love God, and then I sort of insert that back